Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a scene for the changeling venue in the living world of darkness. Scene has Lady Estrella, or Baroness Estrella Greyhawk, in the LWoD library trying to find out any other information she may come across on the subject of the ice worm, the dragon, and potential and anything else about it.
So, Astria, at this point, if you don't mind, I don't know if this would help at all, but I'll detail Astria's researching process.
Mm-hmm.
She's firstly going to start with mythology. She's going to see if there's anything that resembles anything like the ice worm in any tomes, any of the books that she knows. After that's done, she's going to go a little more esoteric. Well, not esoteric, but instead of looking for the ice worm proper, she'll look for ice dragons next. And then she'll kind of start doing some research on dragons, which now that she knows what she knows about the ice worm, she'll start to cross that with research into banality and cold iron and its relationship to such things and its relationship to the dreaming. And then through all this, after a little bit, she may start to get into just the fundamentals of how Chimera work and whatnot, trying to compile as much info as she can so that way she can develop some kind of hypothesis on dealing with the ice worm.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right, give me a intelligence. No academics.
I got academics on my street.
There it is. Do. Give me an intelligence academics.
Okay. There's a 10. I don't know if scholarly applies, but
it does.
There's right. 2 at least.
Okay. It is kind of a stretch as you kind of go from book to book to book, and nothing is really working its way to make a lot of sense. You do find when you're researching on dragons, just kind of going through that they have the ability to generally have the ability to detect something, like the ability for them to smell gold and treasure. So this being formed in the shape of a dragon, it may have the ability to detect strong levels of glamour.
That would explain the ice worm's appearance to all these chrysali. At least what Astria would think. As well as its attraction to Taranar and the rest of the freeholds.
Give me an intelligence Greymare.
Sweet. Rolling that up.
So on your research into cold iron and the dreaming, you are going through and you get this is anathema to everything creative, all the standard yada yada, and then you find the story of a single Dantean. Cold Iron has never been able to get into the dreaming. Ever. But you find the story of a Dantean in France. The name has kind of been lost to time. Who somehow managed to sneak a Cold Iron crowbar into the dreaming somehow. Which is strange, and it caused a horrible explosion. Like Hiroshima, Nagasaki level of explosion in Paris, causing all the surrounding freeholds to explode. So and all of the dreaming in that section was destroyed. Just gone. Hundreds of died that day. Ripple effects were found all over the place. So this is not maybe necessarily something that the ice dragon would be, or the ice worm would be Cold Iron. But what you know of it has it's more of a sympathetic connection to what it is and why it can do what it can do.
So to kind of translate so that way I make sure I know what I make sure I know what you're saying. It's less Cold Iron in the sense of it actually being Cold Iron, but it's more Cold Iron in the sense that it emulates all the things that Cold Iron should do.
Yes.
All right. That makes sense to Astria's mind. So it's not literal Cold Iron in the sense that, you know, chemically, I guess,
Correct.
it has those properties. Okay. Would it be too much of a leap to think or to possibly hypothesize that how should I phrase this? If that's the only property of Cold Iron that it has, is that's anathema to changelings?
Well, and the dreaming, the fae.
Yeah. So the thing that Astray is actually interested in, well, it's not the only thing, obviously, but it's one of the things that jumped out in her mind. Why would the dreaming accept anything to be even like Cold Iron to be here?
That would be something that you would need to look into, maybe what it caused this to be created.
Yeah. Astray had gotten that info. It's the she got that out of character. I got that info from Obi, and he basically said that all my Blue Books research equates to this. It's basically the manifest hatred of the Dantean from White Sands that got wiped out a few a few months ago, I think, or a few years back. I can't remember which.
Right.
Um, so if the desire to kill is made form, then and that desire to kill is what the Fae in particular. It makes sense that the dreaming would, since people love to say that the dreaming is sentient. I suppose Greymare 4 would probably tell us that it's not sentient in a way that we would consider sentience to be.
Right. It has a personality. It has a plan. Does what it wants, but it's very alien.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's not chemically cold iron, and if we're going for more symbology here, um, other than the dreaming and glamour itself, which the ice worm seems to be able to trump by its existence, but Astrid know of anything else that can at least symbolically oppose and or trump the ice worm, if that makes any sense. I'm kind of going a little roundabout here, so I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. The thing is, cold iron and banality have always been an oppressive force to the dreaming, to changelings and chimera. So, and it's always been brutal. And the way it has to be subverted. You have to find your work around the stasis. There's no, this is not something that is a headstrong, cocksure kind of event.
Okay.
You discover as you read. Give me a. Give me an intelligence academics.
All right.
Scholarly will apply.
All right.
You can't seem to find anything.
Okay. It was diff 9. Get it. All right. Okay.
So, your common sense is what you've got now is it's able to smell or detect large amounts of glamour. So probably a lot of treasures or chimera. It is a force of destruction created by the will of a bunch of people who have died by the Dantean. They're lingering, unabashed hate. It doesn't seem to have a purpose other than to find and kill changelings, their home, chimera. And so coming at it with glamour, probably not the best idea. Or you need to come at it with glamour in the strangest of ways.
Yeah.
Although one thing that is strange is it seems to have, from what you've previously learned about it, um, normally it just flies and hunts, kills, and destroys, but it seems to be roosting now.
Which generally is what you want to do if you want to settle down and have children.
I'm gonna let that one sit there.
All right.
But you let that sink in for a minute.
Right. All right. Well, Astria may be a hyperactive kind of character, but she's not one to freak out when shit starts getting bad. Like when chips are down, when she comes across this information, she's just gonna she will let it sit for just a second. Think about all the awful, awful implications thereof.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose that rather than finding a way to counter it, she'll start looking for lack of a better term, workarounds. Because here goes her angle of thinking. Changelings have evaded and subverted banality in general, and to she would say, a very, very astounding degree through the changeling way. And while we don't have the changeling way, at least we don't have its ways anymore, we do have lots of ways to overcome banality, even if it's a trick that we play on ourselves or by virtue of our kith. Astria sees such, like Astria herself sees such a value in knowledge that no book to her can possibly be banal. And given certain extraordinary exceptions.
Tax code.
Exactly. Her friends Will and her fallen friend Timmy, as well as the rest of the knockers. The things that they make would be considered banal to everyone else, but to them, it's fine. It's the same thing with the Dougals and Castiel. She would consider working on a car to be at least moderately banal. Not terribly so, but it's not a book. Some people derive tons of glamour and enjoyment from sports. If Astria walks into a stadium, she's going to fade. Like that's so everyone has their own workarounds, whether they be mental or whether they be purely just straight out a trick of the mind. So I guess the things that you would be looking for, ways to apply glamour so that banality's chill isn't as prevalent. I guess, for lack of a better term.
Well, you know, that cold iron, this raw, mostly pure, wholeheartedly unworked, item, untouched by the powers of creativity and imagination, is like a lightning rod for glamour. It draws it in and it neutralizes it.
Okay.
It being hit with cold iron melts part of your fey soul and evaporates the glamour you have within you.
Okay.
So it may not be something you necessarily, that aspect isn't maybe something you necessarily need to work around.
Yeah.
That's something that is just a flat state.
Okay. Then the angle she's going to work on, and this one was one that was given to her by Blad. It was an interesting hypothesis, one that Astria wanted to look more into. But, all right. The ice worm as it is right now is, for lack of a better term, unbeatable through conventional means. Even if Astria dropped as much glamour as she could, even if she dropped all the treasures that she had, dropped all of her art, she would probably just die within the first few hits and barely scratch the thing. So, the
So that
dreaming. Oh,
tells
sorry.
you this is not something to go at alone. Not something to go at loaded with glamour.
Yeah. As the ice worm is, it's either impossible or nearly impossible to take down without certain circumstances. Now, the funny thing about the dreaming is, and I assume with her knowledge of Greymare, who would probably give her this much info, the dreaming may be sentient in a way that we don't understand. However, what Astria does understand is that the dreaming is, at the end of the day, the reflection of the collective conscious, unconscious, and subconscious of all of humanity, and then some. So, a creature that was born of belief, and which is not intrinsically cold iron, but emulates cold iron, it is still a chimera. It is still an idea given manifest. In this case, it was the hatred and annihilation of the changelings.
Yes.
Now, myths and stories play a huge role in the dreaming. These are chimera that are given manifest every time someone picks up that book. These are parts of the dreaming that are shaped eternally by someone's inspiration or terror. So, what Vlad's idea was to Astra, and one that she was profoundly interested in. What if someone were to weave a story, a very prevalent story that people could go and read or see, whichever, a story about the ice worm, and by adding something, whether it be a weakness or some kind of caveat, they could go in and hopefully take it down. The dreaming likely would not accept elimination because that's not how the dreaming works. The dreaming wants things to be theatrical. The dreaming wants things to be spectacular and insane at all times, if possible. Because given enough ideas, regardless of what the dreaming wants, it will submit to what humanity wants.
That may be a way to go about it. Give me your wits Greymare.
Okay.
Your Fey Magic specialty is gonna apply. Diff for this is 8.
All right. May I drop willpower?
I'm gonna go with no because this is more of a epiphany moment.
All right. Whew. The ones got me. The ones got me, Austin.
Oh no!
Yeah. Now, yeah, not a botch, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, not a botch, but
Yeah.
doesn't quite come to her quite yet. Whatever it is, she's a little too enveloped in her books right now. She's processing too many ideas.
It would be really difficult to overcome to write and portray such a story, giving it weakness, because it's already so embedded in the minds of Cathane society.
Is that a common sense thing? Just out of
That
curiosity.
that's what your common sense is telling you because of your failed roll.
Okay. Then an option would be, if it's embedded into the minds of Cathane society, if we can rewrite humanity's belief, what's to say that we can't rewrite the Cathane's belief, at least lightly, just for this one reason? I mean, the consequences for a backfiring could be crazy, but
But how are you going to do it? It's too big.
she has friends, and she has friends who have friends.
But that you're talking all of Cathane's society.
Yeah. Another idea that could possibly do it is an extension of the theory that the Fae that is now known as Selene had, which is weaving a tale of a particular hero to, or heroes, to take on the ice worm. Again, it isn't cold iron. It's just the same effect as cold iron. So therefore, it's possible that if the fates allowed it, there would be people, if they were thus blessed by this, by whichever seer was to perform this, they would. The dreaming understands that cold iron against changelings isn't a fair fight. So if somebody were to weave this tale and convince the fates to bend to let it happen, then that would mean that the playing field would be leveled somehow.
It's an idea, but it would be definitely costly. Perhaps more costly than some other ideas out there.
Okay. Another odd idea. Uh, Dropping cold iron against the ice worm.
It is, to this day, a chimera. But somehow, but again, cold iron dreaming, kaboom.
Right. Although the ice worm is in Governor's Island, right?
Yes,
That's a Grey World location. Unless it's in the near dreaming reflection of it.
the near dreaming reflection.
Okay. Okay. She definitely feels like she's missing some key detail in all this. Like maybe not she's missing the one thing that she needs to have an answer, but she's missing one thing that she needs to kind of move forward.
I believe that would be correct.
Yeah, so I what she's gonna do then, at this point now, she's not necessarily getting desperate, but now she's gonna be like, all right, I haven't found a lot with my current reading materials. What
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes helps is sometimes finding really crazy shit and just seeing what happens. Um, if this is, I don't consider this meta Austin, but if you want to say she shouldn't, that's a little too weird for her to do, then that's okay. but it's the ice worm, and it's creating a blizzard in spring.
Well, it hasn't created a blizzard.
Okay. My bad. That was my out of character understanding. But there's a lot of correlations between cold here. And that could be because cold iron, and that's definitely a possibility. But it also could be because winter,
Could be.
as in the long winter. As in, let's pull out some books about the long winter. See what some seers have seen. And see what some people have hypothesized about it. And while she's at it, I suppose she'll pull up some stuff on Fomorian. She's not quite sure. She's trying to do anything to get that last piece that she needs.
Well, if she's stretching for Fomorians, she may want to look towards the Adhene.
She'll probably head towards that then. She's got that Adhene lore. She's got a little bit of knowledge.
Okay. Give me a wits Adhene lore. Diff 8.
Can I drop willpower? At this point, your boy needs some willpower right now.
Actually, if you're using books and you're going to be researching as well, make it intelligence Adhene lore, and you can spend a willpower.
Willpower will be spent. Whew. 'Tis only one, but it's at least a step in the right direction, hopefully.
There are Adhene who can manipulate the dreaming.
Fear blogs. Mosian Ray is one of them, as is Alsop.
Give me a wits Greymare. Fey magic applies.
Willpower. Willpower. Oh God, willpower.
This is an epiphany moment.
Okay. All right. Then that's 3.
There's an art that does the same thing.
Motherfucking Dreamcraft. Okay. So, art, Dreamcraft. All right. So, all right. In Astra's head, there's 2 cantrips in Dreamcraft that can potentially help with this. It's possible, but it's kind of a stretch. First one, people call it the Merry Dance. It's a more refined version of what the fear blogs do when they manipulate the constant change that the dreaming brings.
Mm-hmm.
They can, at lower, to one that isn't as proficient in the art, you can only bring about slight nudges. However, with enough strength put behind it, and if someone is skilled enough and they get lucky enough with it, they can straight out alter a dream realm in a very radical way. They can make nightmare realms, dream realms. They can cause certain chimera to show up.
Okay.
Another possibility, bit crazy, but dream weaving is a possibility as well, with the ability to just straight out create chimerical constructs.
Definitely in the right direction.
Another, it's kind of theoretical too. There's another cantrip in Dreamcraft called Anchor. That's what it's referred to by at least the Illuminants. And it helps solidify the dreaming. It's typically used to make permanent parts of the dreaming. However, it might be possible to throw that onto a changeling with the Fey realm to make them a more permanent part of the dreaming.
Okay. Give me a Wits Greymare.
Okay.
Knockers can do something similar. William has done it to you before.
Infusion, toughen. It's basically the banality. She doesn't know too much about it because William doesn't talk too much about infusion. However, from what she gathered, what infusion did to her when she felt it, it wasn't the additional resilience, at least physically, that was the big deal. It was the resistance to glamour. That was the resistance to banality. That was the big deal. It was much more. She felt much more resistant. She felt like she could get around a bit easier. She felt like she could watch a football game for about half an hour.
Maybe creative uses of those might be able to put things in the right.
Yeah, her idea was kind of a primordial one in her head. And she'd rather not directly fight the ice swarm if there were other ways to take it down, but if she were toughened, as well as the rest of her items, including the dross, things might survive engagements with it, with the ice swarm rather. And with Dreamcraft being thrown down on them, this would also help her be more of a permanent, lasting, and enduring part of the dreaming, at least temporarily. Again, this is if Astria fights the ice worm, which she'd do it if she had to, but she didn't want to die.
Right. It is starting to get late, and after a lot of reading, your eyes have begun to strain, and your head is like a thunderstorm right now. So many things going off, so many ideas, and not a lot of them good. Occasionally, some really good ones go through. I think this is a good place to call it before you fry your brain.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Because lots of research.
Yep. Um, so I can do the outro if you'd like to do the outro.
You can do the outro.
All right. At this point, with all these ideas in her head, Astria is going to go ahead and go to bed now. More questions rather than answers, but at least she's moving in the right direction. And here, I guess we will end our scene. Thank you so much, ST, for STing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We will see you again soon.
Bye bye.